let's have a blow off. If we go by connections made, I can still climb ladders when complexions fade.
Yeah.
White on white, that.
Yeah. Trying to perfect my Pusha T ad-lib there. It's a tough one for me. It's like the popcorn little, you know what I'm saying? So we got Pusha T, Daytona, just dropped, out of the blue kind of, you know what I'm saying? I was so happy when I found out Pusha T was releasing a new album, especially when we were kind of left hanging off his EP, you know, King Push, The Darkest Before Dawn, whatever you want to call it, dropped in 2015. He said King Push is coming. It's now 2018, and instead of King Push, we got this album called Daytona. It's very short. I personally wouldn't call it an album. You know, it's only really 20 minutes or so. So Kanye is obsessed with the number 7 right now. He said, you know, it's a good number, and Kanye is putting out quite a few projects through good music. He's doing the Push album, which just released. He's doing his own album, a Kid Cudi album, Tiana Taylor, and Nas. So I believe all these albums are going to have 7 tracks. He chose, or Kanye actually chose the cover art for Whitney Houston's Bathroom. And this is pretty controversial, but whatever. It does make sense, I suppose, because Pusha T is well known for a lot of his cocaine bars, drug lyrics, and things like that. And that does have a big part of this project, as do most of his projects, right? There's no business like snow business. So let's get into this album, man. But looking at the production credits, Kanye produces on every song. He's really just behind everything, and this is actually very exciting to know, because him and Push are recording this whole thing together. And usually when they work together, we get fire, right? So he's doing this whole thing on his own. He has help from Mike Dean and Andrew Dawson on a couple tracks, producing was alongside with him. You know, I usually urge people to listen to albums in order. This one, I think tracks 4 to 7, they play very well in order, just the way that they segue into one another. But tracks 1 to 4 into one another don't really have that necessity behind it. But this is kind of just like a fire-ass mixtape, I want to say, even though it's an album. But if you know, you know, man. Dude. Cocaine bars, the first verse, Pusha T is putting boy at the end of each of one of his lyrics. This is Pusha T, dude. He's a punchline king. He knows how to be witty, how to be slick. He's a kind of guy who you don't want to have on your song, because he's probably gonna outdo you. And what kind of hip hop head would I be if I didn't give a nod to the De La Soul, Trugoy, the Dove reference, right? The games we play. So we get right into the next song. It's got like a very short chorus. The verses come quick after another. You kind of don't even realize there's a chorus. He's given infinite praises to Raekwon and Ghostface's Purple Tape. He said in interviews that he wants to make an album like the Purple Tape, which Pusha T, really, he does have the team and the skills on his own to make an album, you know, of a caliber like that. But you can't do that, obviously, in the 20 minutes presented here. You'll notice throughout the album he is, you know, giving his respects to a lot of old school artists. You know, Jay-Z, who's still making music, he references his 1996 track Politics as Usual on this. And boom, we get right into Hard Piano with Rick Ross. This beat is my least favorite. I'm also not super big on the janitor line in the beginning of it. I just think it's like whatever. That's like kind of the only line that I don't like on this project, which is funny because it's really rare for you to only not like one song on an album. Pusha T is that thorough with it. Rick Ross, he has a cool feature. I'm not going to get too into it. It's okay. Pusha T has a couple lines which are like little subliminal stabs where he says, what does he say? Pusha T says, I'm too rare amongst all of this pink hair, which a lot of people are talking about this album has a clear diss to Drake and Birdman, but this is like a very slight stab to rappers, I would say at least, to rappers like 6ix9ine or Lil Pump, how they're always coloring their hair, and there's probably others who I'm just not completely aware of. So we get into probably my favorite song off the short album, which is Come Back Baby. I love how the intro's talking about addiction and addicts and drugs and stuff like that, and it just perfectly comes in with more so, I guess, the concept of the album, loose concept of the album being drugs, cocaine. Pusha T's verse comes just out of nowhere, man. I do have one problem with the song. I feel like it wasn't mixed completely well. I feel like the bass is a little too screechy, or maybe it was his voice is a little too screechy, but something's a little off with it. I played it on a couple speakers that I have, in my home, in my car, in my headphones. It seems to be present on all those formats, but it's a knocker, dude. It's so good. So finally, we get a song that's not only about drugs, Santeria. This one's dedicated to, or partially dedicated to, his late road manager, Day Day. I guess it's kind of a concept. Like I said, it's not completely dedicated to him because not every bar is talking about him. He kind of goes off subject in a way. He does have quite a few metaphors and bars dedicated to him, though. So that's why I'm going to say this is a concept about him. The song prior, Comeback Baby, goes perfectly into this song, and I just love how the second verse, how the chorus is someone singing. The second verse comes in quite strong. It has just a bass line, and the beat comes in, and it's quite lovely. A great switch up from the first verse. Definite props on this track, just the uniqueness of it, which actually goes very well also into the next song, What Would Meek Do, featuring Kanye West on the vocal tip as well. I'm loving this. I like this collab more than the Rick Ross one, definitely. I think Kanye and Push actually go very well together on this one, and I think Kanye is very energized on this. I didn't think he'd come with this much flow and power in his lyrics. Maybe Pusha helped him with this, because I was actually kind of impressed. Because I'm not too impressed with a lot of Kanye verses, but this one I was quite impressed with. What Would Meek Do? Originally titled How Would You Respond? They wanted Meek on the track. It just didn't work out. How do you respond to certain criticism, certain questions, certain allegations, things like that, right? Kanye's really been in the news quite lately, and he starts off his verse with his kind of, I guess, lift yourself lyrics a little bit with the whoop-de-whoop. I don't think he says poop scoop or whatever, but it's with the same thing. He has lines referencing his Trump hats. He also has a very dope line, which I actually liked, where it's one of the last bars of the song, where Kanye says, "Going for 6 rings like what Phil told Mike, 7 pill nights, you know what that feel like. No more hiding the scars, I show 'em like Seal, right?" Which is actually very deep, because he's shown that he's still striving for success, like, Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan, but he did go through a lot of struggles, juggling pills, which a lot of people did not know he was going through, and now he's, found his new happiness and what have you. So instead of hiding everything, he's going to show his scars like the singer Seal. So I think that, a lot of this took a lot from Kanye. Whether you agree with him or not, at least he is alive and, didn't die at the hands of drugs, right? Because if that happened, we'd all be more sorry, I think, at least. Pusha T has more references about hip-hop, shouting out Tupac, Akinyele. I think what I'm seeing here is that Akinyele has a very popular song called Put It In Your Mouth, and he has a lot of sexual lyrics throughout his whole career. He's one of those artists. So I think when he tells the judge Akinyele, he's telling him to blow him. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was quite clever. With this, we get into the last and final song, track 7, Infrared, which, when it starts, you kind of think it's a continuation of What Would Meek Do, just the way the instrumentals just go so well together. Infrared is the most talked about, controversial track on the album, because it's taking shots at one of the biggest artists in hip-hop right now, who is Drake. It also talks about Lil Wayne. It also talks about Birdman. So a lot of people also know Drake's response, the Duppy freestyle, which I will not be talking about. So one thing I have with some diss songs I've heard lately and just recently, clearly this is mainly towards Drake. He does mention Birdman's name, which I do like, but the whole Drake thing, he's clearly talking about him, but he doesn't mention his name, and that, to me, makes diss songs not as strong. When you hear a song like No Vaseline, for example, by Ice Cube, you hear him naming off every member of NWA, their manager and talking about what he's going to do to him and all these disses and all these things. Even with Tupac and Hit 'Em Up, although it's not the greatest diss, you felt his anger, you felt his fury. You know what I'm saying? When he's talking about Biggie and Bad Boy and all that stuff. See, here you don't feel it as much. I mean, maybe he's not pissed, but I don't get the feeling that if Pusha T sees Drake or Drake sees Pusha T, that there's going to be any even harsh words in person. This just sounds like an on-wax battle, which is fine, but I feel like with all these things you're saying, I feel like to not knuckle up or to not even do something when you see each other in person is kind of, in a way, fraudulent. Like I said, I'm not endorsing physical contact, but if you see a lot of people in the past, there are physical altercations when there are disses on wax. So I just find that to be quite interesting. I think Pusha T does a pretty swell job on this, where he says it was written like Nas, but it came from Quentin. Like, Pusha T very, very, very cleverly borrowed Jay-Z's line off the prelude track off Kingdom Come, and where he's saying, your beats are banging and your hooks did it, which I think is pretty spot on. I don't really listen to Drake too much, so I can't completely comment on it, but one thing you can never deny this guy is his awesome hooks. You hear him everywhere. His beats are also quite fitting for him. So I think that where Pusha T, he's kind of giving him a compliment in the sense, but he's saying you're a one-trick pony in that sense, where you rely on people for lyrics to write for you and great beats, but you are good at crafting your hooks and singing your hooks and rapping your hooks and whatever. So he's not really denying his capabilities, but he's more so saying that you rely on talent to make yourself that much better. I think it's a pretty decent diss. He mentions Birdman by actual name. He is actually showing a little sympathy for Wayne in a sense, where he's saying he's trapped, you know, he can't retire, things like that. It's kind of sympathetic, I suppose. This is a pretty solid song. Like I said, I'm not going to get into the Drake response unless Pusha responds, and I'll do a beef analysis, I suppose. But as far as the closing track, it's pretty strong. It stirred up a lot of controversy. It brought more ears and eyes to the album. So I respect that. If we're going to be rating this thing, it's hard to rate something that is so short, because when you have an album that is so short, it takes away all the air, the potential air. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And I don't think it's fair to give this album, let's say if I were to give it a 9, right? Would that be as fair as me giving, you know, Kendrick Lamar's album, Damn, a 9? When that's how many more minutes than this is? You know, so with this, it does falter from that. The content is very good. It's just so short that we want more. And it's something that you're going to play so much in a short amount of time that given in a few weeks or a month, you're probably just going to stop listening to it, and you're going to sprinkle songs around your playlist throughout the months and what have you. So that is definitely kind of a setback on this, but what we got, it's very good material. You can't really knock too much on this. There wasn't too much to knock. With that being said, I'm going to give this an 8.5 yaks out of 10, you know what I'm saying? Or Coke bags, whatever you want to call it, you know, 8.5 Coke bags. So, Pusha, I'm excited. I want to hear more. He's still killing it. He's been killing it for, what, over 15 years now? So, push, keep it going. I'm excited to see what's coming out of good music. We're going to have a lot of reviews for good music in the next coming month. So, let me know what your favorite songs are. How do you rate this? And don't forget to like and subscribe. Appreciate y'all. Peace.